Kievan's consciousness returned in fragments, first the sterile smell of recycled air, then the soft hum of medical equipment, and finally the warmth of something wrapped around his left hand. His eyelids felt like lead shutters, but he forced them open, squinting against the pale blue luminescence that bathed the medical bay. The first thing he saw was her. She sat beside his bed, her head tilted at an angle that seemed anatomically impossible for a human. Her skin possessed an iridescent quality, shifting between pearl and lavender depending on how the light caught it. Two large eyes, far larger than any human's, dominated her delicate face, their color a swirling mixture of violet and gold. What appeared to be hair cascaded down her shoulders, but the strands moved with an ethereal quality, as if suspended in water rather than air. Jennifer startled when she noticed his eyes open. Her own eyes widened further, and a pale pink flush spread across her cheeks, a distinctly humanoid reaction that seemed oddly out of place on her alien features. "Oh," she exclaimed, her voice carrying a melodic quality that Earth's vocal cords couldn't replicate. "You're awake." Kievan tried to speak, but his throat felt like sandpaper. He managed only a hoarse croak. "Don't strain yourself," Jennifer said quickly, reaching for a crystalline container filled with liquid. As she moved, Kievan became acutely aware that his hand was still enclosed in hers, or rather, in something that resembled a hand but possessed 6 slender fingers instead of 5. She helped him drink, and the liquid, cool and slightly sweet, soothed his throat immediately. Definitely not water, he thought, but his biology seemed to accept it without complaint. "Where am I?" Kievan finally managed. "The medical wing of Station Kepler 442, Jennifer replied, settling back into her chair. She still hadn't released his hand, and Kievan noticed she seemed to realize this at the same moment he did. The pink flush deepened to a shade closer to rose. "You've been unconscious for 3 standard cycles." 3 days. The memories came rushing back, the mission to retrieve samples from the derelict colony ship, the sudden decompression, his desperate scramble for the emergency pod. He'd thought he was going to die out there in the black. "How did he began. "A patrol ship picked up your distress beacon," Jennifer explained. Her voice had a tendency to rise at the end of sentences, giving even statements the quality of questions. "You were suffering from severe hypoxia and hypothermia, Dr. Vexthar said." She paused, and her expression, so readable despite her alien features, grew troubled. "He said you shouldn't have survived the journey here. Your oxygen had been depleted for at least 47 minutes before we found you." Kievan absorbed this information slowly. 47 minutes without oxygen should have meant irreversible brain damage at minimum. "But I'm fine," he asked, flexing the fingers of his free hand experimentally. "You are now," Jennifer said. "We placed you in a regenerative coma. The technology is not standard for human physiology. It was a risk." That flush appeared again, spreading down her neck. "I volunteered to monitor you. Someone needed to be here in case there were complications." "For 3 days." "For 3 days," she confirmed softly. An awkward silence stretched between them. Kievan became hyper-aware of her hand still wrapped around his. Her skin felt warm, almost electric, and he could feel a faint pulse that seemed too fast for a human heartbeat, but somehow matched the rhythm of the medical equipment around them. "Jennifer," he said, testing her name. It seemed so ordinary for someone so extraordinary. She giggled, an utterly unexpected sound that was simultaneously alien and endearing. "Yes, I chose an Earth name. It's easier than having humans attempt Zheniferaquin. Most of your species struggle with the harmonics." "Fair enough," Kievan admitted. "So, my hand." The rose color flooded her cheeks again, spreading to the tips of what he assumed were her ears, though they were partially hidden beneath her flowing hair. "Yes, about that." She looked down at their joined hands as if seeing them for the first time. "You grabbed it when you first regained partial consciousness on the 2nd cycle. You were delirious, speaking in fragments about the cold and the dark. I thought I thought human contact might help stabilize your neural patterns. And it did. Your vitals immediately improved, she said, her voice taking on a more clinical tone. Heart rate decreased by 18%, neural activity stabilized, stress hormones reduced significantly. She trailed off, the blush intensifying. I stayed, and you never let go. Kevin looked down at their hands. His fingers were indeed wrapped firmly around hers, his grip unmistakable even in his weakened state. I'm sorry, he said, beginning to release her. No, the word came out sharper than she seemed to intend. She cleared her throat, a very human gesture. I mean, the medical data suggests continued physical contact may be beneficial for your recovery, if you're comfortable with it. There was something in her eyes, those large, impossible eyes, that suggested this wasn't entirely about medical data. I'm comfortable, Kevin said quietly, and her smile was radiant enough to make his heart skip. Over the next several hours, Jennifer explained more about the station, about her species, the HFY, an ancient race that had been exploring the cosmos for millennia, and about the intricate web of interspecies cooperation that made places like Station possible. She spoke of her training, of her fascination with human resilience, of the loneliness that came with being one of only 3 HFY stationed so far from her homeworld. Kevin shared his own story, the corporate mining operation that had sent him into deep space, the friends he'd lost when the colony ship had been abandoned, his dreams of seeing Earth again someday. He found himself talking more than he had in years, drawn out by her genuine interest and the strange comfort of her presence. Can I ask you something? Kevin said as the station's artificial day began to dim toward evening. Of course. Why did you really stay? For 3 days straight, that's beyond duty. Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. When we brought you in, you were clutching a photograph. It had been damaged by the cold, but I could still make out 2 figures, you and a woman. I thought. She paused, struggling with the words. I thought about how she would feel if you died out here alone with no one holding your hand. And I thought about how I would feel if someone I cared about died that way. So I stayed. Because everyone deserves to have someone there, fighting for them. Kevin felt something tighten in his chest. That was my sister, he said gently. She died 4 years ago, terraform accident on Mars. Jennifer's eyes widened with distress. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. No, it's okay, Kevin interrupted. Actually, thank you for staying, for caring about a stranger. You're not a stranger anymore, Jennifer said, and there was something profound in those simple words. As the medical bay's lights continued to dim, matching the station's circadian rhythm, Dr. Vexthar, a towering being with too many limbs and a surprisingly gentle demeanor, came to check on Kevin's progress. He examined the readouts, made approving noises that sounded like grinding gears, and declared Kevin's recovery unprecedented. Whatever you're doing, Nurse Jennifer, continue it, the doctor said before departing. The human responds exceptionally well to your care. When they were alone again, Jennifer giggled, that same delightful sound from before. He knows, she said. Knows what? That this stopped being purely medical approximately 47 hours ago. Her blush returned, but this time she met his eyes directly. HFY can sense emotional resonance. It's one of our evolutionary adaptations. I can feel what you feel to a degree, and you can probably sense something too, even if you don't realize it. Kevin thought about the warmth he felt whenever she was near, the way his heart seemed to beat in time with that strange pulse he felt through her hand. Maybe I can, he admitted. Is that okay? Jennifer asked, vulnerability clear in her expression. Kevin squeezed her hand gently. Jennifer, you saved my life and then stayed with me for 3 days because you didn't want me to be alone. You held my hand through the worst of it. Yes, it's okay. It's more than okay. Her smile could have lit the entire station. Good, Because Dr. Vexthar has ordered another 48 hours of observation, and I've already volunteered for the next shift. 48 hours, Kevin raised an eyebrow. That's a long shift. Yes, Jennifer agreed, her eyes sparkling with that mixture of violet and gold. But I have it on good authority that you never let go once you find something worth holding on to. As the medical bay settled into the quiet of station night, Kevin found himself thinking about the strange paths that life could take, how a near-death experience in the cold void of space could lead to this warm moment, this impossible connection with someone from a world he'd never seen. Jennifer, he said softly. Yes. Thank you for not letting go either. Her hand tightened around his, that electric warmth flowing between them like a promise. Never, she whispered. Not now, not ever. And in the soft blue glow of alien technology keeping a human alive far from home, two beings from different worlds held on to each other, finding in that simple contact something that transcended species, culture, and the vast darkness between the stars, the universal language of connection, care, and the beginning of something neither of them had expected but both desperately needed.